Morning. It's Craig Bennett here with DFS Army, and I'm about to record the NBA First Look podcast here for tonight's four-game slate starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A nice four-gamer. Again, we had a massive slate last night. We'll have a massive slate on Friday. Generally, Thursdays are kind of a smaller slate. If you like videos like this, hit that thumbs up button for me. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll keep popping these videos out for you. And with that, let's just dive right into this. All right, I will use DraftKings as the backdrop, but I will also talk about FanDuel pricing as we go through news and kind of build a little sample lineup that we might like tonight before we get all the news that we're going to get. So first game on tap is Portland at Houston. Houston favored by 4.5 with a 227.5 over under. The big news here, it looks like Rodney Hood is probable. It looks like Derek Jones is probable. Let's see on the Houston side. Christian Wood is questionable. So if he does play, that's going to take Boogie Cousins out of play for sure. And again, we know still on Portland's side that we don't have no Nurkic, we don't have no CJ McCollum, and no Robert Covington. So all those three guys are out as well for Portland. So as we know, Damian Lillard is going to get all the usage in the world here. On a slate this size, he's probably going to be pretty popular as well because of the usage he gets. Again, for the season, he's 1.25 fantasy points per minute with a 31% usage rate. But if we can look over the last couple games with no CJ McCollum, he's been about a 33% usage rate. And again, he's getting all the shots that he wants. He shot pretty bad last game, 8 for 12 for 36% from the field. Still put up 45 fantasy points. I still think we're going to see over 20 shots. If he shoots better, he can put up easily 55 to 60 here pretty easily. So guy we can look at, but priced up 10-6 on DraftKings, 9-7 over on FanDuel. So I think you're getting a little discount there. I think he's more viable. I still think you can play him here, but we'll have to see how the lineup construction comes together. Still on the Portland side, we can look at here. Cantor is priced up to 7-1, 6-5 over there on FanDuel. Had a monster game last game out, 32 minutes, put up 51 fantasy points, 23 rebounds against OKC. Just absolutely gobbled up all the boards. Again, tournaments only for me at this price because we've seen, that, we don't know if Stotts is going to throw him out a ton of minutes or a little bit. So his minutes are always in question for me. But, we do have to consider him, and more so on FanDuel at 6,500 than DraftKings, but still should be looked at. Carmelo Anthony, another guy we should definitely look at. 5,200 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. Played 35 minutes against OKC, put up 37 fantasy points. They're going to lean on him again more for shooting with no CJ McCollum and no Robert Covington and no Nurkic. So I think he's squarely in play here still at 5,600, a guy that you should be looking at putting in your lineups, especially over on FanDuel at 5,200. That is cheap. Rodney Hood, he didn't start last game and didn't even play. They just said he wasn't going to start him. There was nothing to say he was out. 4,300 on DraftKings, 5K on FanDuel. If he ends up starting and they put Melo back on the bench, I'm fine with still playing Melo. And I think Rodney Hood on FanDuel at 5K, I would much rather play Carmelo Anthony anyways. Over on DraftKings, though, I think you can consider him at 4,300 if he is starting. Gary Trent, 4,800. They put him in the starting lineup as well, 5K on DraftKings. A guy that played 41 minutes. We didn't have any Hood last game. So only put up 28 fantasy points. One thing with him, if you notice, there's no peripherals really. 22 points, 0 assists, 1 rebound. He did have 2 steals, but he's just primarily a scorer. So I don't really like that price tag on him. And then again, all these other guys I'm not too excited about. So for me on DraftKings, I look at Lillard. I look at Carmelo Anthony. Maybe Cantor in tournaments, but not your cash lineup. I think really on DraftKings, the one guy that I know that I do want is Carmelo Anthony. I'll throw him in this lineup. On FanDuel, definitely Lillard at 9,700. Definitely Carmelo Anthony at 5,200. And then I do like some Cantor at that price at 6,500. I guess we can talk about Derek Jones Jr. a little bit. 4,600 on FanDuel. I do like that because of the steals that he does get in the blocks because he's a athletic freak. And again, since he is probable over here, and Houston's a great matchup for stuff like this. And then over here on DraftKings, I think he is playable as well at 4,400. And I think I prefer him over Hood. Again, Hood's more just a shooter. Jones does a little bit of everything. Yeah, 7 points against OKC, but before that, 22, 22, 24. You're not going to get a monster game out of him, but if you need somebody around this price point, I think he's worth it. Over on the Houston side, again, we should see Wood back here. So, he is questionable. I'm sorry, he's not questionable. He's probable now. Yeah, so he should play, and that really takes Cousins completely out of play. Cousins is 7,200 over here on DraftKings. He's 8K on FanDuel. That's a complete fade. If Wood is back, he might not even play 20 minutes. Like, this is the easiest fade in the world with Wood coming back. Wood, on the other hand, is priced up. 8,700 on DraftKings, 9,500 on FanDuel. We know he's going to command usage. He's second in the team behind actually Boogie Cousins in fantasy points per minute for the season at 1.31. He does command a 27% usage rate for the season as well, so the usage is going to be there. But he also has to play with Depot and John Wall now. So I don't think I'm going to go pay up that much for Wood. DraftKings, you get a little better price. I haven't constructed lineups over on FanDuel yet, but that is a little pricey for me. John Wall at 7,300 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel. I think it's fair. I don't think we're going to see massive minutes out of him. I think, we might see close to 28, and it's a price where it's kind of hard to pay. But, with all these guys kind of getting back healthy and Houston getting healthy, and these guys that have been doing well priced up, it's really hard to kind of swallow that price tag. So I'm not sure he'll make my lineup or not, depending on how the rest of it goes. Oladipo, 8,100 on DraftKings, 8,300 on FanDuel. Another kind of guy that I think the shot volume is going to be there, but with Wood in there, rebounds are going to go down. Assists are going to go down because John Wall's on the court. So it's not somebody that I'm excited about at that price tag either. So all these guys are kind of priced out for me. Even Eric Gordon at 6,600 on DraftKings, 6K on FanDuel. He's put up 30 and 41 over his last two games. Again, he's another guy that's just a shooter. 0.90 fantasy points per minute on the season. Again, not a guy that I'm super excited about at that price on DraftKings. He's just, when Wall is only 700 more, you play Wall if you're going to choose between the two. And then you could look at Tate at 4,600 on DraftKings, 3,800 on FanDuel. I think FanDuel is a play for Tate just at price if we're looking at value, just because Tate should still start at the power forward spot, and he can get a few things. Guy's not going to crush it. Like at 13, 10, and 30 over his last three. 4,600 on DraftKings is overpriced when you could play those Portland guys on the other side for cheaper. But on FanDuel, it's a FanDuel specific play at 3,800. He should play 25 to 30 minutes, and he's been a 0.75 fantasy point per minute. Very low usage, around 13% for the season, so not somebody that I'm trying to shove in my lineups. But on FanDuel, he could make things work. So overall, Houston getting healthy, not somebody that I'm too excited about playing. Let's head on over to the Lakers at Detroit. Lakers are favored by 10 in this match, 217 over under. Both these teams are on a back-to-back. They both played last night. LeBron James is not on the injury report. He's not questionable. Doesn't matter. He would still play, but he's not on the stinking injury report. So the only he should be no big deal here. All these guys should suit up. I've talked about this a ton, that you really shouldn't play any of these guys when they're fully healthy. Now, on DraftKings, Anthony Davis is 8,900. This is getting to the point where you have to consider him at this price. Played last night against Philly, put up 39 fantasy points. I think this is a spot if you want to play AD on DraftKings, it's pretty cheap. I'm going to throw him in this lineup just because how cheap he is. LeBron James at 10-4. I don't think I'm going to go there this game. He's 10-7 on FanDuel. Anthony Davis is 10-2 on FanDuel, but again, 8,900 on DraftKings is getting the price where he makes a pretty good cash lineup where there's 50-point upside there, which is what you need out of that. And so maybe we see an Anthony Davis game here. But again, the rest of these guys, Schroeder at 5,700 on DraftKings, 5,700 on FanDuel. No thank you. Gasol, no thank you. Even at 3,300, it just doesn't do enough for me. Harrell at 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,800 on DraftKings. They just don't do enough for me when these guys are fully healthy. So again, this is kind of a stay away spot for me, even on a 4-game slate. I think I would rather just find other teams where we're not trying to guess which Laker is going to hit value, if any of them hit value at all. I guess I would say, I'll preface this one thing here. If you think this game kind of gets out of hand, Alex Caruso at 3,600 on DraftKings and 3,600 on FanDuel. He's a .82 fantasy points per minute. If it gets out of hand and he can hit mid 20s minutes or low 20s minutes, he could get there for you. So I will say he's a little interesting. And KCP, I guess, at 4K and 4,100 on FanDuel. We've seen when he gets hot and his shot falls, 4 games ago, he shot 7 for 10. All he's going to do is shoot threes. He put up 31 fantasy points. But again, no peripherals. He had no assists in that game, 3 rebounds. He's strictly a shooter. So again, Caruso, I guess I would look at him at that price just if we think that he can get over 20 minutes and they really take it to Detroit. So yeah, I would look at that there. Let's head over on the Detroit side. We should have Blake Griffin back. So Blake Griffin is 5,900 on DraftKings. He is 5,500 on FanDuel. So Blake Griffin is coming down to a price where, you might have to start considering him, but man, he's been just bad this year. It's been all Jeremy Grant. 18, 23, 34, and 12 is his last 4. Something you cannot really trust. He just feels like he's going through the motions. He doesn't really feel like he's really engaged when he's out there, so I'm not super excited about playing him. Jeremy Grant, 8,400 on FanDuel, 8,400 on DraftKings. Again, up against the Lakers, I'm not too excited about playing him either. Delon Wright, I think, is priced up. 6,700 on DraftKings, no thank you. 6K on FanDuel. Put up 34 fantasy points. Did pretty well last night starting, even with Rose back off the bench. So more of a FanDuel play at 6K. 6,700 is kind of priced out. Derrick Rose at 5,400 and 5,600 on FanDuel. I think you can consider him in tournaments, but nobody I'm like super excited about here. Jackson at 4,800. Another one of those things where it's hard to trust that. And Ellington is kind of priced out now at 5,100. He's been doing real well shooting the rock. He is 4,700 on FanDuel is a good price for him. But if you look, his minutes have been up 26, 29, 50, and 26 over his last 4. If you want to reach back even a little bit further, 24, 32. So he's been very consistent. Shooting the ball at a great clip, 55%, 70, 66, and 54% from the field. And that's what he is, a shooter. So maybe as a last piece, you could throw an Ellington in there just with the minutes he's getting and how good he's shooting. But I think he's a better FanDuel play at 4,700 than he is a DraftKings play. And again, I never know what Casey's going to do with Detroit and what they're going to play. And going up against Lakers, I'm just not too excited about this game in general. Let's head on over to the Clippers at Miami. Miami favored by 4, over under of 215. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Patrick Beverly are all out again. So we should see something similar than we saw 2 days ago for this team. So on the Clippers, we should see Reggie Jackson playing and getting the start. Again, up against this Miami team. Miami's on a back-to-back. They played last night. So, again, Reggie Jackson priced way up on DraftKings. FanDuel, fantastic play. He's 5K on FanDuel. Should play in mid-30s minutes. Played 39 against Atlanta here 2 nights ago. Put up 46 fantasy points, 28 and 7 line. So, I think you can still consider him here on DraftKings, but he's such a better price over on FanDuel. I think DraftKings is the play that we can look at here. And we saw, the shots go up as, Serge Ibaka usage was way up. He's been a 1.01 fantasy points per minute for the season. And even go up against Miami, the shots were there. He put up 15 shots, 30 fantasy points. I like him way more on FanDuel at 6,200 than on DraftKings at 6,800. but as a guy you should consider. Batum, the shots were just not there for him. 6,300 on DraftKings, 5,300 on FanDuel. He's going to play a lot of minutes. I think it's a better price on FanDuel, but the shots weren't there. Terrence Mann, so cheap on FanDuel, 4,500. Got the start. 50 put up 31 fantasy points in 34 minutes. Did it with 10 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 steals. So love the price over on FanDuel for Terrence Mann. I still think you can consider him even on DraftKings at 5,400 at that price tag. So we'll just throw him in this lineup. They should do a lot of the usage here with these guards. Marcus Morris, 4,800 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. Another guy you can kind of consider off the bench for scoring. But for the most part, and let's talk about Lou Will. Lou Will, 6K on FanDuel, 5,800 on DraftKings. Still not seeing heavy minutes. Only put up 18 fantasy points, but shot horribly, 28% from the field. And he's just priced too expensive for the minutes he's getting. Now, in tournaments on a 4-game slate, you have to consider him. Because if Lou could go 14 for 14, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit, and hit 40 fantasy points. It's just not likely, and I wouldn't do it in your cash lineups or even 3-max, but in your tournaments, I think you can consider him a little bit here. And that's about it on this team for me. Luke Kennard at 6,500 on DraftKings, 5,500 on FanDuel. Better price on FanDuel. Don't think I want to pay that price for Luke Kennard on DraftKings. I think for me, it's more if you're looking Reggie Jackson and Terrence Mann here on the clip side. Over here on Miami, got a lot of question marks here. Jimmy Butler, is still out. Now, if he plays, it would change things up, but Harkless is doubtful, Myers Leonard's doubtful, Hero's questionable, Dragic's questionable. Dragic and Hero both sat out last night, so Kendrick Nunn got a lot of run. 39 minutes, only put up 27 fantasy points, but if those guys are both out, I think this is another guy that we can consider playing. I'm throwing him in here just saying if those guys are out, we'll throw him in this guard position. Again, the Clippers are not going to be as good defensively with their big two out. So we can definitely look at playing some Kendrick Nunn here if those other guards are out. I think if both play, I don't want Nunn. If Dragic plays, I'm fine playing Nunn at that price. If Dragic sits and Hero plays, then I'm fine playing Nunn. Now, Hero's still expensive. He's 7,400 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. I like it better if he does play, but he is priced up. Duncan Robinson, 5,500 is too expensive. I think on FanDuel maybe a little bit better, even though the scoring is better on DraftKings, but still 4,700 for Duncan Robinson on FanDuel is a good price for him, so we could look at that. And Bam Adebayo, 9,200 on both sites, DraftKings and FanDuel. It is priced up a ton. I don't know if I want to go Bam there, but they don't have anyone in the middle that can really guard Bam. But that is a lot of money to pay for Bam, and I'm not sure that I will get there on this slate. So, again, with Miami, it hinges upon these guards. Is Dragic going to play? Is Hero going to play? And then we'll kind of figure out what's going on. So, in this lineup I'm building, I'm considering them both out, and I'm just going to play Nunn here. Olynyk got the start, 5,400 last game against Denver, put up 18 fantasy points. Again, it all comes down to, and they got crushed, which is expected. It really just depends on what's going on with these guys. If you want to take a chance in tournaments, maybe go like a Gabe Vincent if both those guys are out, and he would get some run off the bench at 3,100. I don't mind like those in tournaments, or even a Max Strus, but Vincent, I really like that kid when he plays. So if he can get some minutes off the bench, he's a guy that in deep 150-man tournaments that might do something for you. But it really depends on Hero and Dragic. He's not in play at all if those guys come back. So we'll have to consider that. Let's head on over to the nightcap game. Golden State at Phoenix. Phoenix favored by 1. And we get a 218 over under. Let's start on the Golden State side. Both these teams are on a back-to-back as well. Golden State doesn't have any injury consideration to worry about right now. So, they're fully healthy. So, Steph Curry, 9,700. I think he's consideration, but nobody that I really want to pay up for. I think if we're going to have these situations where we're going to get a Jackson and a Nunn, I think there's more meat left on the bone there. So I don't think I really need to go there. 9,800 on FanDuel. Always in play. Steph can always put up a 60 burger. Kind of struggled last game, so maybe he does come out and play a little good. He had 36 points. Struggle from the field at 35%. So I don't think we need to go there. Wiggins at 6,900, 7,400 on FanDuel. So he's somebody that we could look at more so on both sites, really. I don't mind him. But Kelly Oubre Jr., 6,400 on DraftKings, 6,300 on FanDuel, 0.90 fantasy points per minute, about a 20% usage rate. He's somebody that can get up in these games against Phoenix, who shouldn't have Booker at all. So I do like that price tag. Draymond Green's been so frustrating to play, but 30 minutes over his last two, 5,600 on DraftKings, 4,900 on FanDuel. I think you have to consider him. 27 and 24 fantasy points. He can always get you a double-double and a decent price here. So he's a guy I think you can consider playing at that price tag. James Wiseman came off the bench. They have been starting the last two games. They've been starting Looney, 3K. 12 minutes, even though he started, is tough because you never know what Kerr's going to do. Kerr could start him and then just play Wiseman more, but put up 20 fantasy points in those 12 minutes. So last two games, 12 minutes, 19 minutes starting, put up 20 and 15. So at 3K, on a 4-game slate, he's not a bad guy to look at, but you're not getting massive upside. Just understand that. Wiseman off the bench, 4,900. He had a career day when it comes to points and 25 real life points, 6 rebounds, played 24 minutes, 36 fantasy points. And he might be better off the bench, honestly. He is 4,800 on FanDuel. Again, 4,900 on DraftKings. Doesn't have to fight the usage off the bench, and he's looked really good his rookie year here. So a guy that we can definitely consider playing. But for me, it's mostly on DraftKings. I look at Oubre and I would look at Draymond Green as the first two I would look at. And again, if Looney does start and we needed 3K savings, I would look at him. But again, it's just a cash play. In tournaments, it's tough to play a guy like that. And that's about it from this team. Let's head over to Phoenix. Man, Phoenix, Ayton, you screwed up a massive prop day for me. I 3-1 on prop bets. I could have swept the board, but he decided not to show up. Again, Booker is doubtful here with his hamstring. Dario Saric is out. Payne is questionable. So that's the major injury news. Wow, Chris Paul is priced up to 8K on DraftKings. FanDuel still 7,400. That's going to be damn near lock button on Chris Paul with no Booker. As you can see, last game, 35 minutes, shot over 20 times, put up a 32.55 in line, and still lost OKC. They're just struggling right now as a team. So even at 8K with no Booker, I still prefer Paul on FanDuel by far, but I still think you can play him here at 8K on a slate this size. I think he's priced up, but he's going to carry the team on his back. And if it's a 1-point spread, it's going to be on the back of Chris Paul for sure. DeAndre Ayton, yeah, I ain't going to him. 8,300 on FanDuel, 7,800 on DraftKings. I think you can consider him. People are not going to be on him because of how bad he was last game. He only had to put in 5 up real points, 22 fantasy points, had 14 rebounds, played 35 minutes. Shot volume just was not there. So in tournaments, again, recency biased. You can definitely go back to a guy like that. So someone that we can consider. Miles Bridges, 6K, 5,500 on FanDuel. Again, if Booker is out, he should be shooting. But, shot 23% last night, which is not too good. 16 fantasy points, 22. He put a 51 against Denver 3 games ago. We need to see something like that, but his shooting hasn't been that great. Jay Crowder's been one that's been hot. 5,500 on DraftKings, 5,200 on FanDuel. Put up 36 and 38 over his last two. I think that shot volume is going to be around the same. 36 fantasy points and only shot 30% from the field. I think we're going to see Jay Crowder continue to do some things for us here. So I do like some Jay Crowder here. So, maybe if I want to bump AD out and throw Crowder in this, gives us 7K to play with in that small forward position, which I kind of like here. I kind of like having Jay Crowder there just with how good he's been playing if Booker's out. We could look here at Cam Johnson, 4,600 on FanDuel, 5,300 on DraftKings, 19 and 27. Again, kind of inconsistent. I don't like that price on DraftKings. I'd much rather play Crowder. And on FanDuel, he is small forward position, so we have to consider it here as well. If Cameron Payne does come back, it will take some minutes away from Carter. Carter is 3,200. He's put up 19 and 20 over his last two, so a guy that we can consider playing. But if Payne is back, he's 3,300. He's just going to take some of those minutes away from Carter. So we'll have to consider what's going on there. Etwan Moore played some minutes last night, 15 minutes. Only put up 4 fantasy points, but on a 4-game slate, if we're trying to look for some value. And we did see some Jalen Smith on the court last night as well. 5 minutes, 4.75 fantasy points. Definitely didn't do a lot with his minutes. Nader, 3,600 on DraftKings, 19 minutes, put up 20 fantasy points. Another kind of filler piece I think you could look at in lineups, but nobody I would get excited about. But again, with no Booker there, there's just 20 shots basically to go around. So for me, mainly it is Crowder, it is Chris Paul on this team, and then in tournaments I would go Ayton. I think he's priced up, but at the same time, recency biased, and people will not be on him. So I think that is a way to look at it. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the NBA First Look preview this morning. I appreciate each and every one of you that takes the time to check out this video and hang out with me as we build a lineup together and kind of get a feel for the slate until later in the day when news drops. And with that, head on over to DFS Army, use promo code CashCake, save yourself 10%. We'll have cheat sheets up. I rank the players on FanDuel and DraftKings personally over there. And then I put my MME percentages on who I am on. And last night, FanDuel, I had the lock button on both Clarkson and Beal, and that worked out pretty well. But if you like these videos, hit that subscribe button for me. Let's continue to grow together, and hit that thumbs up, and be on the lookout for a prop bet video and a prize picks video for today. I will get them out after I look at the lines a little bit. And with that, I'm Cash Cake. Deuces.